Well, Happy New Year and good evening to everyone. Welcome to the first official council meeting of 2024, today being Tuesday, January 2nd, for our regular meeting. Again, welcome. And Judy, if you could call the roll.
Indeed. Stokes.
I'm here.
DeVore, Leonard.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Hausch.
Here.
We're expecting Gustafson at any moment. Also present is Village Solicitor Amy Blankenship and Interim Village Manager Johnny Burns.
All right. I will entertain a motion for us to move into executive session for the purpose of discussion of pending or imminent litigation and for discussion of the evaluation of a public employee. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second?
And Judy, is this a roll call also?
Brian, you moved and DeVore, Leonard seconded? Sorry, you sounded
Opposite.
lots alike tonight. Gotta be looking at you.
So Carmen,
All right.
Brian, your job is to sound like these two gentlemen,
Right.
so we can all...
You guys could modulate differently. That'd be awesome. All right, Stokes.
Here, yes.
DeVore, Leonard.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hausch.
Yes.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
4-0. All right.
So Ben, are you good with shutting down the AV? I'm going to And welcome back to the regular meeting of Village Council for January 2nd, 2024. We have just stepped out, if you will, of executive session, so I will entertain a motion to enter the regular meeting or re-enter the regular meeting.
Second?
All right. Judy, you want to do a roll call?
Sure. Stokes.
Yes.
Leonard.
Yes.
Brown. Yes. House.
Yes.
Gustafson. Yes. Thank you.
All righty, so we are here. We're done with executive session. So we've got some swearings in to do, and I'm looking at our solicitor. So we have Carmen Brown, who will begin a new 4-year term. We have Gavin, DeVore, Leonard, who shall begin a new 4-year term of Village Council, and Trish Gustafson, who will begin a 2-year term. So, Mayor Pam. I can look at her all I want.
Right. So we'll begin our swearing-ins today. This is an opportunity for the public to see what's going on here. So I'm going to start with Carmen. If you'd like to come up and have your moment in the sun. Oh, yeah. We'll do our swearing-in for the oath of office of your council. Would you raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me? I solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution and will obey the laws of the United States and the state of Ohio, and that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the Charter and the ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Village Council. Nicely done. Carmen Brown. All right. Gavin, DeVore, Leonard, please. Would you raise your right hand, Gavin? I solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution and obey the laws of the United States and the state of Ohio, and that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the Charter and the ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Village Council. Congratulations. And our newest member, Trish Gustafson. Very good. Yes.
She's walking around like that.
I solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution and obey the laws of the United States and of the state of Ohio, and that I will in all respects observe the provisions of the Charter and the ordinances of the Village of Yellow Springs, and will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Village Council. Congratulations. Wonderful. Okay, Judy. Now official.
Extra
Alrighty.
official.
Since we now have a new village council, Judy, if you could call the roll for this council for the very first time.
Yes, I will. Stokes.
I am here.
DeVore, Leonard.
Here?
Brown. Here. House.
I'm here.
Gustafson. Here. Thank you.
All righty. Welcome once again and congratulations to all the new folks. I just had a thought, but I won't say what I thought unless I were to say I will entertain a motion to adjourn, but I'm not. That just felt like a good thing to do. And we've done all the important stuff, so we should all go home and enjoy this fantastic beginning of the new year. But having dismissed that as a thought, so we have some other business to attend to. We, as is our custom and practice, every year, especially when there's been a new council voted in, we do go through the process of nominating and electing president and vice president for council. So that being the case, the chair will entertain a nomination for president of council.
I nominate Kevin Stokes.
And I accept. Are there any other nominations? All right, Judy, we call the roll. And we all are familiar with what was in the packet, but what I will say is, since there was only one nomination, I don't know if it changes the process, but when your name is called, feel free to either answer yes or say the name Stokes. All righty.
All right. Brown.
Stokes.
House.
Yes.
Stokes.
Gustafson. Stokes. DeVore Leonard.
Yes.
Stokes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I didn't want you to be alone. All right, thank you, my team members, for that vote of confidence. And now for nomination and vote for Vice President of Council, I will nominate Gavin DeVore Leonard for Vice President of Council. And he accepts.
Okay, accept.
And are there any other?
Are there any other nominations for Vice President? Hearing none, Judy, if you call the roll.
Indeed. House.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
DeVore Leonard.
Yes.
Stokes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you once again. Now we're on to the agendas, and I'm trying to, I'm already thinking legislation about second reading, first reading only for the second deals, but I don't know that we have a lot of
You've
them.
got no second readings, in fact, no ordinances, but you do want to do your announcements and consent agenda.
Yep, I know, I jumped ahead. All right, so,
Wait, did we get a, are we reviewing the agenda? Is that, or not yet?
not yet.
After consent, yeah.
Yep, so announcements. Are there any announcements? It's lots of good stuff that happens in town over the last couple of weeks. I'm sure there's a lot that could be said, and Brian is our...
Well, I will say, you know, the last candle of Kwanzaa was lit last night, and we appreciate the continuing to support that celebration at the Village. Also, thank you to the Village team and Miami Valley or Miami Township Fire and Rescue for supporting a great New Year's Eve celebration. We always love that. Former council member Jerry Sims is celebrating a birthday today, so I wanted to give a shout out to him. He served for a long time and, yeah, still in the mix. Used to take that snow plow out there. And then also, I wanted to mention for our next council meeting, remember, we will meet on Tuesday the 16th because, of course, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is happening on the 15th, and that's one of my favorite celebrations in the Village. We hope everyone's out and about. We'll be promoting that on our Facebook page, and I think people know the typical routine. We meet, we march, we celebrate, and hope to see everyone out there.
All right, any other
That's what I
announcements?
got.
Great, excellent. Any other announcements, anything else pressing? All right, moving on to consent agenda. Right now, we have the minutes of our last meeting, the December 8th, 2023 regular session of council. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from December 18th, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There was not room for discussion, but I am making allowances now. Sounds like everyone was in favor of approving, so by definition, there was no discussion. Now we're at review of the agenda. Brian, was there something that...
I thought there was a request that we got, and I made a note of it. Did one of the letters that we received make a request? I'm not finding my note right now. No, it wasn't Dino's. It's not coming up in anybody's mind, so...
Nope, nothing here.
I don't know. It seemed like there was a letter where there was a request for council action, but I'm not finding my note right now.
Remember the subject matter?
Why can't I find it? I don't know. I saw it here earlier. Judy, nothing's
No,
coming
if
to
there
me?
was one, it did not come through me.
Okay.
All right, well, maybe if it comes up, we'll have some latitude, but I don't see it right now, so.
Not a problem, okay.
All right.
Thank you for your interest in bringing that to the table. If it comes up, like I said, we can consider. All right, petitions and communications. Gavin, if you would, please.
I'm sorry, Chairman.
I'm sorry.
For the review of the agenda, are we adding
Oh,
the resolution tonight?
Maybe that's
We
what
just
we
jumped right over there.
should do.
Two, actually.
Actually, I guess there will be two actions. All right, so what we will add to the agenda for the sake of argument, let's maybe say in the beginning of public hearings and legislation, we will have a repeal of Resolution 2023-83 and a replacement of that resolution by Resolution 2024-06. And is that numbering? Right. Okay.
Yes. And then you're adding
Yeah,
2024-05.
yeah, that's, well, yeah, I guess we do need to add it because it's not on the agenda. But yes, thank you. 2024-05. Thanks, Johnny and Judy.
Oh, I know there was a memorial request for the library. That was, we had that little picture with the circle thing. Do we need to talk about
So
that?
Johnny, that was in the packet after your manager's report, were you?
Correct. I was going to talk about it during the manager's report. So I checked in there.
Okay. Brian, is that satisfactory?
That's it? Yep.
Great. All righty. All right, so I'm just making sure we got 01, 03, 04, 05 is Rex, then 06. All right. So we have reviewed the agenda, and thank you, Amy. And so now we are at petitions and communications. So, Gavin, if you would.
The clerk will receive and file one letter from the council clerk about certification, and then Dino Pallotta about praise for Stokes and Burns.
Thank you. Yay, Judy, and yay, Stokes and Burns. And Judy, congratulations on, the public investment management certification. We appreciate the work you put in as our treasurer, and I'm sure that that is helping you be as excellent as you can.
It's grueling online courses. Glad to do it.
Better you than me. All righty, we are now down to public hearings and legislation. We will begin with the reading of Resolution 2024-01. Judy, if you would, by title only.
All right, this is authorizing the sale during calendar year 2024 of municipally owned personal property which is not needed for public use or which is obsolete or unfit for the use for which it was acquired by internet auction pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 721.15D.
Thank you, Judy. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Don't be shy.
All right,
Johnny, I'm guessing this is for you?
this is a standard, this is one we do every year for Gov Deals, and we did not have anything last year, but this year we have 2 old dump trucks that were supposed to go last year, we didn't get them on there, and an air compressor that will going to be listed as well.
Okay. Okay. This is a resolution, but I will certainly open the table to council if you have questions of Interim Village Manager Burns regarding.
2 dump trucks and an air compressor?
So far.
Okay.
Clarification is always
Bye.
helpful. All righty. Hearing no other, seeing no indication of any further discussion, all in favor of passing this resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, the resolution has passed. Just out of curiosity, what is or was Resolution 2024-02?
It
PayPal
was
account.
this horrific PayPal account thing that went on for about 8 pages, and Johnny found us a much, much better and easier solution
Okay.
than having to go through PayPal.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
For those of you keeping score, we just did Resolution 01, and we're skipping on to 03. So Judy, if you could read by title only, Resolution 2024-03.
This is authorizing the interim village manager to enter into a lease agreement for 201 South Walnut Street.
And Johnny, if you would, please.
If we could,
Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
All right, thanks. Now, Johnny.
Okay, so we started this process back last March, to be honest with you, and this is for leasing the old school board building that we let them lease for many, many years. I think all the way back to the 60s. As Todd Van Lane told me, he remembered them taking the filing cabinets across the street, entering in when he was in elementary school. So that's how long the school board building was occupied by, or the library was occupied by the school board. They have since moved out. We did an open house, an RFP process, and we have come to Community Foundation accepting the terms and willing to step in and take a 3-year lease and do some much needed repairs and updates. We are going to be doing a $60,000 investment to where we will allow them to be able to use $60,000 to be able to put in an ADA handicap bathroom, fix the plumbing, fix the electric, and they are also going to be putting in some in-kind donations at the same time. So the lease is for 3 years, and then it has 3 5-year extensions on that if they wanted to keep moving. They've been in the current location, I believe, 23 years. So this is a good fit for us to just go ahead and keep partnering with a great organization.
So ADA compliant bathroom, but how ADA compliant entrance?
There will be a ramp into the back.
Okay.
Yes.
So the reference to the restoring the utility basement, that doesn't mean the entire basement, right? That's just a...
Correct. What we're going to do first is we are going to help demo the basement, take all the leftover furniture and desk out of there that was too heavy to leave. And then they're going to strip down the walls on the inside of it to make sure that there's no water, no mold.
Right.
And then the basement will remain just dry, and then they'll be using the top part of the building.
So will right now it's, like you said, it's outfitted with desks and whatnot. So is that, some of that going to be restored for nonprofits or?
No.
Okay, so we're not using the
You don't want nobody
basement
in
at
the
all?
basement right now. No, correct.
Okay.
We need to do some work down there, and really the ceiling's about 6 foot at the max, so it's not really designed for offices.
Okay.
But at this point in time, we just need to make sure that it stays dry and get some updates on it.
And what would you estimate is the utility cost per
About
month?
$250 a month.
Okay. All right, that's what I got.
And Gina Marie is here to talk if you got questions.
You all have comments? I see this, we are considering opening the floor for folks that are involved with this particular issue. So let's start there, and let's see if the folks from Community Foundation want to share. No need, no pressure.
Everyone's eyes are on Jean
Yeah.
Marie.
Well, thank you for having us this evening to at least speak about it, and I do think we will be a good tenant if we can move forward, and we've said 23 years in our current location. I think the benefit, and not only for the foundation moving into this location, it also frees up retail space on Dayton Street, which we occupy both the first and the second floor. Additionally, about 60 plus times last year, nonprofits and businesses in the community used the foundation offices in our current location on Dayton Street, and we will offer those same availability in the new location as we move. So it's not just for the community foundation, but also for meeting space for our nonprofits and businesses as needed, because I know the community's limited on those as well. So
Absolutely, great. Thank you, appreciate that. Mitzi, you look like you want to say.
I'm just a little confused.
So Mitzi, if you, please come on.
Sorry. Hi, it's Mitzi Miller. I just need a little clarification. Is there a monthly charge for this building or a yearly charge? Can you share that? I didn't hear that.
Yes, it's $1,500 a month.
$1,500 that the village will be getting?
Correct.
And then they pay utilities as well?
Including utilities.
Oh, you,
utilities.
okay, all right, thank you.
Again, clarification goes a long way. So glad you asked. Thank you for the question. We appreciate the sharing of information. Are any other comments or questions for Village Manager Burns regarding this resolution? All righty then. Hearing none. Judy, let's go ahead and call the roll.
All right, DeVore Leonard,
Yes?
Gustafson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Hausch,
Yes?
Stokes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Judy, if you could read by title only, Resolution 2024-04.
Yep, this is authorizing the interim village manager to enter into a contract for marketing of the village CBE property.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second. Thank you much.
Well, I teed this up last time, and we brought it back. We've actually got Allison here to talk about it. This is also a contract for a year for advertising for the CBE and marketing the CBE, getting it out there, getting it in front of people, and trying to bring local businesses to town. She did write a memo, and we got it included in the paper. I've asked Lisa Abels from the YSDC if she wanted to speak about it as well. I think it's a good thing to get it up and going for marketing.
Yep. And I'll just add on there. Advertising the Center for Business and Education is, or marketing the Center for Business and Education is something that we, I guess, felt was something we wanted to be doing, and maybe we felt just the fact that the land was out there and available, that we were sort of, marketing it. We did do a couple of things, and I think even Allison was involved with that in terms of Dayton Business Journal. There was and Lisa Abel, I know we're involved with that as well. So there have been efforts. I won't categorize how effective they may or may not have been, but what's the impetus, if you would, for our trying to redouble our efforts, more than anything else, is the fact that Ohio is a great place to be right now for economic development, for technology, for industry, and we want to do our best as a village to let the world know that we are indeed open for business. There's been some other efforts in terms of slide decks and things of that nature, but I think with Honda, Intel, and some of the other industries that are coming into the region, this is the absolute right time for us to really get serious about trying to, again, get the word out that that we own this land, and it's open to business, for business, to the degree that we can get folks to show up. Does anyone on council want to say anything? And Allison, since you are here, if there's any highlights you want to share, please feel free.
One of the things that I think that needs to be said is that, our efforts, whatever the outcome of those efforts, it's important that we acknowledge that we have such a vibrant and diverse community and so many people that are talented, and the resources that we have available to us in this community are second to none, especially for a municipality of our size. And to have someone like Allison who is willing to work with us to kind of pull this together is kind of a it's a really good thing, and it kind of speaks to the talent that we have available here. Mm-hmm. And so I'm ready to start this thing.
Yeah. I think. I want to keep a positive spin on it. I'm inclined to say, wow, we should have been doing this a long time ago.
Well, we're doing it now.
We're doing it now. Ben, every now and then, I think I hear something from that TV that's distracting.
Yeah.
And, okay, if we're doing it, we'll live with it.
There's sound.
Yeah.
Not what you're saying.
Right, yeah, it's sort of distracting, and I'm like a 5-month-old puppy, it doesn't take much.
Oh, that should be fine.
All right, so while that's being worked on, we're sort of closing out our discussion, opening the floor up for anyone that has any other comments or concerns about 04. Brian, look at you.
Yeah, I have a few things to raise, and then I'm looking forward to Allison talking. So one of the things is I did want to extend on what Kevin talked about why hasn't more been done, because in my 10 years, I try to reflect on, other things besides the Dayton Business Journal articles. I did reach out to past council members, and it was highlighted that Mills Morgan and Miller Valentine were involved in some conversations. One of the downsides was that they didn't really understand the community, which is part of why I've put in my 2 cents about supporting Allison and being involved in this, because you do. But I also wanted to mention that for folks that have forgotten, we did have an Economic Sustainability Commission that was actively involved in thinking about incentives around how we market. We did, for a while, have a full-time executive director of the chamber, and at that time, that was a big piece of how we were promoting that property, and ultimately that's what led to bringing Cresco into the mix. So I guess in some ways I feel that, as we've kind of transitioned with losing Karen and setting up the YSDC, that we've tried to figure out like various strategies, which include, and I hope continue to be, some of those marketing materials that have been worked on, thinking more about strategy, but I certainly support other ways that we can move forward. So I guess the other thing when I thought about that question is, maybe it could be controversial to think about like the cost, again, sort of the piece of what we are paying that real estate agent to represent us. And I think Allison can speak more to this, but we can also, think a little bit about like what the advantages are to, I guess, ultimately what would be probably $6,000 per acre to bring in new businesses and all the benefits that those bring. So all supportive of that, but I did want to, I guess, highlight that I think that things have been done, and I'm glad that we're taking the next step to, really look at what more can be done on that property. I think I'll save my other thoughts for when Allison comes up. So, yeah.
May I ask, have you discussed what the role of economic development will be for any potential village manager? That's, in my experience, that's customary for you either attach that to a zoning position. It can be attached to your zoning person as a duty if they have that level of skill, or it can be something that is included in the search for the village manager. So I'm just curious because I haven't gone back. I went back in some ways. I don't remember hearing anything.
Yeah, we have not identified a sole individual with sole responsibility for pushing economic development. Prior to my term, Brian, I don't know if you were on, but didn't we have an economic development person?
Yep. So it was Sarah Wildman, and she worked right up until 2013. So yeah, and then we kind of moved into the commission, focusing on that.
Gotcha.
So
And that was her sole function?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, she was part-time.
Okay.
Yep.
And then have discussions happened with any future position, how that will work along with Allison, or will that be a separate duty? I'm just curious how that.
Right now, I'll be taking the lead with it
Okay.
and working with Allison to get it marketed and developed.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions on council?
Not right now. Thanks.
Thanks. Allison, do you feel the clarion call?
I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year, and thank you. I really
Happy New Year.
do appreciate the opportunity. I think everybody knows me except for Trish. I'm Allison. Pleasure to meet you. Yeah. I guess I could clarify my role as a realtor and some of the costs associated for people that aren't in the industry. I'll be taking on all the initial costs for all the marketing, the signs. I'll pay for that. If I do get a successful deal where I bring in a business and you all approve, at that point I will get a commission. So I don't get paid unless I'm successful and bring a business to town that you approve of. I'll be working with Lisa. We work together for a lot of other projects, so we'll be working together as well. And with village staff, I work with Johnny for a lot of projects too. Yeah, any questions that I'd love to clarify?
Brian, you said there was some other comment you wanted to...
Well, so just a couple things. So if Cresco decides they want to expand,
There.
what happens?
So they would contact me, and we would discuss how big of a parcel that they want. Then I'd contact Johnny. I guess we have to decide, kind of the chain of command, but Johnny, at this point, Johnny is my point person.
Okay.
And then we negotiate price.
So if Cresco expands, then we pay a commission for...
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me jump in there, and Johnny, back me up on this. When we talk about Cresco expansion, right now, if they were to expand, they would expand onto land property they already own.
They already have 13 acres. So they have a 5-acre and an 8-acre. So they already have 13 acres. If they're going to expand, they have a good amount of space already to do so.
But if they want to buy additional acreage, then that would be under contract. and
Correct,
would
because
pay.
this property is going to be on the free market at this point.
Brian, they would also have to have some legislation changes because they cannot be within 500 foot of the church.
Right.
So that is where their property line is now. So
Right,
they
right.
can't expand it any closer to the road. So if anything, they would go backwards.
Right. Okay, so one of the things, is that, we talked about a residential development opportunity. What if can we pursue that in the next year, or is that under this contract not something we could look at until after July 31st or January 31st of 2025?
Well, it's village-owned land, so you control it, and you're allowed to pursue any options that you wish. Now, as you know, the covenants do not allow for residential. I personally don't have an opinion either way. I'm here to sell the property and ideally bring in business, because that's what this is zoned for right now. But if the village wants to shift into residential, you're free to do that.
So that doesn't.
If you find a path.
That doesn't affect our contractual relationship? If
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And then I guess since there's been so much stuff about the dual realtor thing, do you want to just talk
Dual
about
agency?
that? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just an agency disclosure form and explains the different types of agency. I will only work for the village. I will represent the village. If a business comes offering, or, making an offer on some land, they will most likely have a realtor. If they don't, I'll explain to them that I do not represent them. I will enter into negotiations with them, but on behalf of the village. I will not be representing anybody else. I don't do the dual agency.
Right, so no buyer-seller.
Correct.
Okay.
And say that, I'm with Coldwell Banker, they're my brokerage. So if there is a business that has a Coldwell Banker agent, it'd be a dual brokerage situation, but we wouldn't be working, I'm representing the village, they'd be representing, it doesn't really interfere.
Okay. I think that's what I've got.
Thank you, Brian. Trish, you look like you wanted to say something, and if I'm wrong, please forgive me.
I just still, I'm just still wondering about the search for village manager and how this
Gotcha.
could potentially tie in. So if that has, if you've had prior communications amongst yourselves about that, or if that's off the table, because that, yeah.
Could that be a conversation that happens not on the dais right now?
Yeah, I'm just trying to determine my vote. Yeah.
Okay.
So
I think, I'll just say, I thought Kevin said before, but if I understood the question correctly, we haven't talked about, I think the short answer is we haven't talked about that at all.
Okay.
So if there is there's no, if there wanted to be some kind of some kind of expectation around rules and responsibilities, and it hasn't happened yet, to my knowledge.
Right.
And to make sort of an empty generic statement, with regard to this type of transaction, the village is represented by staff, and that staff is headed by interim village manager Burns.
Right.
So it's effectively John Yore's designee, one way or the other.
And is his compensation, is he going to be getting any sort of compensation for the sale as well?
No.
Nope.
All right.
Okay.
That's common.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Allison. Appreciate the information. And yes, Missy, because we've made eye contact.
Sorry, but I have two questions. One is the question Brian had about housing. She's got a contract for a designated period of time.
Yes.
Have you negotiated that, her commission rate at all already, and what is that?
6%.
6%. And at any point, the village chooses to, let's say, go into housing, that commission would not be, it would be voided, and I'm guessing, or not? How would that
I
work?
have not had that conversation.
Okay,
with
I'm just wondering.
Yeah. And we haven't really discussed what would change in that regard.
I mean, I will say the way it was brought to us is that that land would be purchased for market price, so I would presume that it would be under the contract. But, I mean, that's just my initial read. Which again, I did want to kind of set the record straight on, council understands the covenants. It was great that Lisa Abel put them into our packet, but we had read them all before. And so, I'm a little bit disappointed about the narrative that council's not informed about the challenges to change that. I mean, we understand like the problem and that wouldn't be easy, but at the same time, the reason why we asked our village solicitor to look at that is we knew it wasn't going to be like an automatic thing. So we're not clueless about that. We don't need to talk to past village managers. We are, well in tuned about what's going on there. So.
All right. So I see Amy coming up. Do you need to go before Amy, or you?
Right now, we're talking about this contract with Allison.
Yep.
That's
Yep,
where,
yep,
okay.
yep.
I just want to get out of the weeds.
Absolutely. I was about to close the discussion until I saw.
Sorry, one more quick thought. We do have an ordinance on point for the sale of surplus property, including real property. So there will be no sudden sale of any land. If a buyer is identified, it'll be, we have to run notice in the paper that we're going to be selling property, and then wait 30 days from the notice. And we have to run notice more than once. So it will all come back before council and be approved by legislation, and we have some specific timelines on point.
All right. Yes. Want to give this thing a full vetting.
I'm Lisa Abel, representing Yellow Springs Development Corporation, and I just want to kind of put a point on the timing of this, that as we've been talking about, I don't know, maybe for 6 months to a year, we have these opportunities for supply chain folks who would have relationship with these larger companies. Supply chain for us, in terms of what kind of folks would actually be able to move here and do business here, would be things like workforce development, people that businesses provide small parts to these larger companies, things like cardboard, supplies, maintenance services, maintenance parts and products, other services like the ARA Mark or whoever they are now brings in clean rugs every week, and there's just a phenomenal number of folks out there who will provide those types of business to these larger corporations. Allison just brought in a group that wanted to consolidate somewhere between Clark County and Montgomery County. They provide equipment for clean rooms. Intel uses clean rooms. That's almost the entire facility. That's huge for us. And Allison did that. That was not the development corp. So she has the connections. I just want to put that plug in, that this is the right time, the right person. So hope you all support this.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yay, Allison. Not to divulge my vote, but once again, yay, Allison.
And
All
I just
right.
want to clarify,
Yep.
the reason I was asking about the duties is because when you're doing a search for an employee, which is something that's planned, that all would have been part of the discussion, whether you do go to somebody that's outside of staff, inside, or within staff. That's what I was trying to determine, if that conversation had even happened before.
Right.
I, with all due respect, I understand that. I just want to stay on agenda, and I almost called a point of order because there were so many different conversations taking place, and frankly, it was hard for me to stay focused on the agenda item and the conversation at hand.
Yep. Understood.
And I want to say one more thing, because I guess I feel like the weeds are important here. Because again, we've had this property for 15 years. I don't think people have just not thought about doing these different things. So,
Right.
So I do think it matters, what our staff time looks like. And I think are proposing this option because we need some extra support. I do want to emphasize,
So I will simply say that we are marketing the available land. We're not marketing what Cresco owns. Cresco has a whole additional 5 acres that they can expand onto without even
Right,
batting an
and we
eye.
don't need to market to them.
No.
And we're not. We're not marketing what they own to them. We're marketing to the world the available 13,
It's just under 20.
20 acres.
Yeah,
So,
17-ish, yeah.
yep.
But again, I mean, Cresco's already, are already there, and if they wanted to expand, it wouldn't have anything to do with this contract. So,
Indeed. If they want to expand on what...
so that I want to put that on the record because
Yep.
I don't think that should be included. So,
Duly noted.
May I respond to that?
Sure.
yeah, I do.
So this is an auction, but we also do auctions, and something that we call a call to action. It really puts the pressure on people. So if we market this land and Cresco feels pressured that, oh no, somebody else might buy land that they were eventually thinking about buying, it might put enough pressure on them to actually make an offer where before they weren't going to.
Cool.
So that is a direct response to my marketing.
All right.
Yep. Understood.
That's a great response. Thank you.
Yay, Alice. Okay. Reading of Resolution 2024-04. We will end the discussion now. And Judy, if we could do a roll call vote.
All right. DeVore Leonard.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hausch.
Yes?
Gustafson.
Abstain.
Stokes.
Yes. All righty.
All right.
The motion has passed, that resolution is passed. Now we're going to the recs. Resolution 2024-05. Judy, you can read that by title only?
This is approving participation in the AMP Renewable Energy Credits Sale Purchase Program.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right. Johnny, this has your name all over it.
This is me.
Mhm.
This is another long time process, but they need a resolution to be able to sell the wrecks that we've been working on with a current signature of mine to be able to enter into that agreement, and then they will be getting us back the full executed contract to be able to sell them. And as of right now, they are still higher than what they was, what they showed us on paper.
Do we have some hard numbers? I don't know.
They
if
do not have no hard numbers.
Okay.
They can't give us hard numbers until they actually
Okay.
sell them.
Okay.
But it will be more than what they
What
told
they
us,
estimated.
what they
Okay.
estimated.
Yeah, so this is
So
good.
this is just a resolution updated to where I can sign a contract with Amy Kemp, or with Amy Blankenship as well.
Okay. All righty. Pretty straightforward. This is the same thing that we've done before.
Correct.
Okay. So we're just sort of tying up some loose ends. Any conversations or questions from council to Johnny? Okay. Therefore, all in favor of passing this resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, the resolution has passed. Now we are going to Resolution 2024-06. Judy, if you could read that by title only.
Did you repeal 2023?
I'm sorry?
I was just suggesting you do the
Thank you. All righty. Lost my notes, but I will entertain a motion to repeal Resolution 2023-86? 83. Right. Thought my memory was better. That is, for the record, we need to make some corrections in Judy's compensation. Last meeting, we did have a resolution 2023-83 that we did pass. We are now, because of the conversation that we were all part of earlier, need to repeal that resolution and replace it with another. All in favor of repealing?
Yeah, motion.
Yes,
Motion.
thank you. So can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
You guys are a great team. Thank you very much. All right, all in favor of repealing that resolution, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Resolution 2023-83 has been repealed. Now we will take under consideration Resolution 2024-06. And now, Judy, if you could read that by title only.
This is approving a one-year employment contract and wage adjustment with the Clerk of Council.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Oh, I spoke over you. There was a motion and a second.
Yes.
Judy, you catch it? Did you catch it?
The second was Carmen.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know if I want to give this to Johnny or Amy. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Following the December 18th meeting, when council approved a wage adjustment for the clerk, there was some follow-on discussion about her longevity pay and her contract. Longevity pay per the Village of Yellow Springs Personnel Manual increases every year, and so once you hit a certain threshold. And so the question became whether the 6.35, including the longevity pay, was the intent, with her longevity pay being at a 4.2% in this year. So we revisited it with council, had the exec session tonight to discuss it, and now you're looking at a resolution which gives the clerk a 3.5% pay increase, along with other benefits that she receives per contract, which includes her longevity pay. Also, the contract for Judy that you're approving tonight is only for a one-year term. On the 18th of December, you approved one for a 3-year term, but we've had some discussions amongst council. We've talked about it a couple of times in exec session now that we're going to be doing a bit of an overhaul this year on our personnel manual and our codified ordinances that affect wages, and so putting Judy on a one-year contract will allow us, hopefully, in a year's time, to have a little bit more alignment between the way her increases work with the increases across the board in the village.
Okay.
Any questions?
I reckon not. That was very thorough. Since there were no questions, and we did just talk about this just a few minutes ago, we'll presume that we have no other comments or concern to present.
Maybe just to clarify for the public that the prior resolution, we agreed to 6.35%. This would 4.2 plus 3.5% make it 7.7%. So, but otherwise, yep.
Yep. That is true. Yep. So,
Yes, it is.
so indeed, good to know. All right. So that being the case, if there are no other questions or concerns, Judy, want to do a voice vote?
Do you need a roll call?
Roll call. Yes. I'm sorry.
All right. DeVore Leonard.
Yes.
Gustafson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Hausch.
Yes.
Stokes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Unless I'm missing some legislation, we are now at citizens' concerns. This is the part of the agenda, part of the meeting, where if you have an area of concern that is not already on the agenda, whether it's already been discussed or planning to be discussed, you can come up and have 3 minutes to share your concerns.
Hi, my name's Mitzi Miller. I'm a resident of Yellow Springs. And this is praise. I'll just say what I'm going to say. Yellow Springs has become more of a safe walking community due to the kindness of Yellow Spring residents, property owners, renters, and businesses all taking action and clearing the sidewalks. Also, thank you goes out to the Village of Yellow Springs and our council for their leadership, educational programming, support, and repair and replacement of damaged and dangerous sections of the sidewalk. Under the leadership of Johnny Burns, so much has been accomplished in just a short period of time. Meg Leatherman, our new zoning administrator, has been an asset in our approach to getting residents and property owners to adhere to the ordinances. Pam Canine is an advocate and also volunteers with the Yellow Springs Community Actions for Safe Sidewalks. We are an outstanding example for other communities to take note of. Other groups that have impacted our sidewalk progress has been the Youth Action Board of the Yellow Springs High School for clearing sidewalks, the Yellow Springs Community Action Project Board, the Community Yellow Springs Action Project for sidewalks, and for their educational programming, surveying, sidewalk clearing. Between the two groups, in the last 2 years, they have cleared close to 2,000 square feet of sidewalk here in Yellow Springs. The active transportation community for their encouragement for safe routes to school for pedestrian and bicyclists, educational programming, surveying, and securing grants, and sidewalk repair and replacement involvement. The Livable, Equitable, Age-Friendly Yellow Springs Group for their work in surveying residents, their needs in our community, advocating for safe sidewalks and for pedestrian safety, and proposing currently an AARP grant for 2024, and working for the betterment and welfare of our community and its members. I hope Council will continue to support the efforts to make Yellow Springs a safe, walkable, and bicycle community. And these are just 4 things this group is kind of asking. Sending out flyers 2 times a year in the paper or with our utility bill to residents on clearing your sidewalks and the village ordinance on sidewalks and safety. Utilizing media for like Channel 5, the village website, newspaper, newsletters to educate residents. Share procedures with our community on making complaints and sharing safety issues with our village, supporting more dollar amounts for safe sidewalks and bicycle safety, and following up with residents when complaints are made and they have safety concerns. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mitzi.
Mitzi.
Thanks, Mitzi. Might be good to mention that we expect that AARP grant will bring $10,000 into the village in support of walkability. So, and that's being submitted on January 8th, but that should happen. So, yeah.
Great. Nice update, Brian. Thank you. Are there any other citizen concerns? Is there anyone online that we could see? Nope. Hey. All right, we're down to special reports. The anxiously awaited report from Rose Pelzel.
The cutest team.
Yay, I'm glad it's up there. I was like, should I have sent that to... I'm Rose Pelzel. I've been part of the Public Works Department, meter reader department for 5 years now. I'm very happy to say. This is a picture of me and my coworker Travis hoteling. Can I switch the slides or? Okay.
Sorry, it's me.
Oh, you go. Okay.
Just give me a look.
So, I thank you for having me and letting me talk a little bit about something that I am gonna geek out about a little bit. So, we have water meters in pits, inside in utility closets, and then so here are a couple pictures of a water meter in a pit. That is a meter lid. It is a metal lid that is over top of the pit, and you need a special key to open it. There's an inside meter and a new meter that's inside. Next slide. So here we are. Oh, I can't read that at all. So we have 1,822 water meters in the village of Yellow Springs, and they are read every single month. 1,232 are outside in pits. So they're under the frost line, they're not going to freeze, but they are manually read. There are 537 that are inside folks' homes, so that means in basements or in utility closets. Some of those have what we call a remote, but it's not really remote. It's really just a wire that goes to a little box on the side of the house, and it is also manually read. And then over the last year, we have upgraded 50 water meters, and they are read with the new Tantalus system. So there's one of the little boxes on the bottom left. That's a manual remote. It only shows the 1,000 gallons, which is what we bill towards. Go down. So here's a few pictures of, and this is all in the packet that you can look at good, but there is a snake in one of them. The snakes actually in the winter, they'll go up and curl up on the top of the meters because it's always really nice and warm there. You know, the water's at like 50 degrees. And then go down. So here's a few of our older inside meters. 537 are inside. Keep going, Judy. Thank you. So this is really important. So here's the face of your meter. There's a lot of different, there's a few different kinds, but there is a triangle in the center or on the side that will spin very slowly, or it spins if there's water moving through it, but it's the most like down to the, you know, decimal of gallon. It will spin when a toilet is running or something like that. I'm running around catching toilets every single day of the week. So, I mean, you know, it happens way more than you think. It's the #1 loss of water that our customers are just, you know, debilitated by. But one thing to look at here is how to read the meter. It's like an odometer. So we do not bill anything that you haven't used yet. So it's like, you know, you say your car has 100,000 miles on it. It has a little bit more than 100,000 miles on it usually. So that meter right there that says 10, 7, 5, we would only read the 10. And if you've used, you know, 700 over that, that's not going to be billed until the next month. Next slide. Keep going. Okay. So here we are. This is the card that Travis or I leave at houses that have inside meters. So there's a static 0 on the end, just like there's a static 0 on the end of a meter, on the end of the reading on the meter, and then that red arm, the clock face, that's the ones place. So. And then that little triangle is the leak indicator, or the flow indicator. We have started, so with COVID, before COVID, we were knocking on all of these houses. And then during COVID, we weren't going inside, so we just started leaving cards. At this point, we're knocking only really if we know that person very much wants us to read their meter. They can, customers can take a picture and send it to the utility billing office, and that is a great way to, you know, just save us time, and also, like, at this point, if we knocked everywhere, people would be like, but I sent it in and, you know, I take a picture of it. They don't actually want us to come in their house, right? That's cool. I'm happy about that. Okay, so here is your bill. This is an example of a bill. When you're reading your bill, on the water line, there's the beginning reading and the ending reading. And if there is an A next to that ending reading, it means it was an actual read. And if you're in one of those places, if you live somewhere where you have an inside meter and you haven't sent us a read, it will say E, and it will be estimated based on your past usage. That is not great because we won't catch high usage in that place. So the other thing that you can see here is that, you can see the beginning read and the ending read, and then the usage is in thousands gallon. It's one minus the other, right? And then there's the water usage down at the bottom. This is a November bill, so it doesn't have November on here. It has October, and then you can see last year in December, this customer had a toilet leak. So it was 9,000 gallons. The EPA says an adult person uses an average of 2,000 gallons a month. I tend to think that the average adult person in Yellow Springs uses about 1,200. Maybe we're just a little bit more conservative, but like kids, like households with kids and teenagers use a lot more. So you can sort of gauge your own, like what is a high usage for yourself based on your past usage, but also based on that. Yes, so if Travis is out and he puts in a read and the handheld beeps, that means it's high. We will fill out a card and leave it on your door and knock and try to make contact with you. We will say whether or not the leak indicator was spinning at the time, and if it was a remote, we'll say, not a remote, and really try to follow up with that person and see what's going on. It's very frustrating when it's not actually happening right then, especially because toilets will fill and drain and fill and drain if something's going on, or they'll be running very slowly for a long period of time, and then you flush that and it just completely fixes itself, right? So you can use 10,000 gallons of water and not hear it and not realize it. And so that is one of the reasons why, when we changed to automatic electric meters, there was more time to get a monthly read at every single home in the village. Okay, so more about toilets. Leaky toilets and spigots are the most frequent cause of wasted water. Toilets can account for 30% of all indoor water use, more than any other fixture or appliance. You can check to see if your toilet is running properly by putting either food dye in the back of the tank and waiting about 15-20 minutes, and if there's any dye in the bowl, then something's wrong. It's going down the drain. We also have dye tabs at the village offices you can use. Check them regularly, never ignore them. If you think it's running, it's a big problem because there's really, except for the Roundup program, we as a village can't do anything about it because that's potable water. We're treating the water at the plant, we're pumping it to you, you're using it, it's going into the sewer and with all the poopy water and getting treated and then going out to nature. So all of that is happening to that water even though you don't think you necessarily used it. Another thing that's really important to look at is whether or not your softener, the drain of your softener goes into the sewer or into a sump pump and then outside, because softeners also tend to just go crazy and run. And if they do that into the sewer, there's no abatement. But if they go into your sump pump and then go outside, if your sump pump doesn't, God forbid, go into the sewer, which it should not, please, for the environment, then you wouldn't be able to get a sewer rate adjustment on that. And that can be like 10,000 gallons too. Water softeners, they use water usually in the middle of the night. If it's running, if you can hear it running during the day, You do not want that. And another thing that I use personally now is a timer on my spigot. And they're very cheap, and you can set it for 10 minutes if you're watering something or you're washing your car so you don't forget and leave your spigot on. That happened to me this summer. So that was not fun. Okay. So another reminder to, if you do have an outside meter, keep it accessible. Lots of times there's like thistles or poison ivy or brush put on to the top of the meter, and that means that we can't read it, and then you get estimated, and then it's weird how when that happens, you would assume, nothing has been leaking for 10 months, and then all of a sudden we don't read the meter and your toilet starts leaking. Go ahead. Okay. So the other kind of meter that we read is the electric meter. So in 2016, before I was at the village, we changed out all of the electric meters to be drive-by ERT meters. So we would drive by on the 21st of every month and pick up with that little suitcase with an antenna on top of the van, drive around and get all of the electric reads that way. With the Tantalus system, or TUNET, which is the Tantalus, I have another slide that says what it's, so there's AMR, which is like receiver transmitter, and then AMI, which is hourly reads. So now with the TUNET system, we have installed new electric meters. We have 500 new electric meters installed. They have a lot of capabilities. My favorite being remote outage reporting. So if you have a TUNET meter on your house and the power goes out, Ben Sparks, the superintendent of electric, gets an email with your address on it. And when it comes back on, that email is sent as well. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't call when your power goes out. You should call the non-emergency number. But it is a really great thing. So it's also integrated with our old meters, so we can do this sort of phasing in of these new meters. So it creates a web over the village and is now getting hourly reads from all the electric meters, and then as we upgrade water meters to be ERT meters, like radio meters, that web, because there's one of these TUNET meters on every house, they will easily be able to pick up the water meters even if they're in a pit, which is, if we went with a separate system, the other option would be to have a separate system of water meters, especially with how many trees we have and everything. It would be a huge other expense to put in enough receivers to pick up all of the water meters that we have, like out in the Vale we have meters, and that would be a hard, but with this integrated system, it all comes back to itself. So here is the outage reporting data, and there is what TUNET stands for, which is Tantalus Utility Network. And that just shows there's a list of addresses, and then there's also a report on the interface that we use. Continue. So this is the Tantalus map that we have. So this is 518 TUNET meters we have installed, and you can see they actually show which meters they're communicating with to get back to their hubs. Their collectors. So, if those weren't all green, we would have a problem. There would be some issue. And then there's a map of the 53 ERT water meters that we have. And then the big, like all of the other, the 1,783 electric meters that we have yet to upgrade. We just got 400 new ones that we're going to be installing in the next couple months. So look for that notice on your door if I haven't already changed your meter. So here is the new electric meters, and they have this, the ERT is in this little thing that fits underneath the hole in the lid of the meter pit. Continue. Okay, so this is a really important thing I want to talk about, which is how solar meters work and how solar billing works. So the top graph is a month of a customer's solar usage, and then the middle one and the next one are 2 separate days. So that's hourly reads. So a solar meter is either, it has pretty much 2 meters. It's delivered and it's received. So it's what we deliver the customer, and it's what the customer, what we receive from the customer. So we charge 12 cents per kilowatt hour to deliver electric to all of our customers, and we pay about 9 cents per kilowatt hour for the extra solar that a customer will give to us. So at any really second of the day, the solar customer, the sun is shining, and the solar customer is using that electricity first, and then if there's more solar coming into their house, then they are pushing it out to us. If there's not enough to do their own house, they're pulling from us, and both of those numbers go up. So when it's dark outside, the delivered is going up, and when it's really sunny, the received is going up. But we cannot see what a solar customer is using from their own solar. So like sometimes it happens, a new solar customer will be like, well, my system says I produced 1,000 kilowatt hours and I'm only getting credit for 200. And it's like, well, we didn't see that. You're saving money from not buying from us. That's before we even see it. Okay, continue. Okay, so here are some water graphs. These are really exciting. So the first 3 on the left is a spigot that was left on.
Oh my gosh.
And I actually caught this through the reporting system. You can see exactly when she turned it on at about, I think that's like 8 p.m. And it was 600 gallons throughout a 24-hour period, and then another 320 gallons. And then when I called her and she turned off her spigot, it went back to normal. So that was very validating. And then here's just some there's a month of water, and you can see that person down at the bottom on the right. They went out of town for a couple days. And then, you can see the electric usage. What else do I have on here? Yeah, keep going. So another thing that Travis and I have been doing is GISing all of the pits and inside water meters and remotes. When I started, literally there weren't maps of, I didn't know what was inside and what wasn't. It wasn't in the billing software. And so we've been pinpointing and taking pictures and making sure, we know what state the valves are in and stuff like that. I did not look at the time. Am I really over? I'm almost done. Yeah. So I just wanted to do a little shout out about how talented Travis is, and look at these beautiful fire hydrants he did in October. And then the next slide is the new sign that we did in January 2019. We designed and built that together, and I just think it's beautiful, and it's holding up so well.
Right? That's good.
It's like the polyurethane was the right stuff. And so yeah, if you guys have any questions.
Well, first of all, I'm excited because you're excited. And you said this is important. I said, well, the other thing was important. Everything's important. But I'm glad you're excited about that. So, the toilet running, do we provide any advice or guidance when, it is just a mechanical problem, or just say, hey, you got a running toilet, you should go fix it?
I mean, the innards of a toilet are not very expensive. They're about $15, $20. We don't. I mean, we just, unless it's our fault, we let the customer know, and they need to call a plumber usually, or figure it out themselves. A lot of times I will tell people to turn off that toilet until they figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Come get your dye tabs. If you don't have any food coloring, come get your dye tabs. They're fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Science.
Yeah, I need to get some dye tabs. I feel bad because I changed the fill valve a few months ago, and then every now and then you hear that one toilet go run for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I know what it is, but I just haven't gotten it back.
And really, it's sometimes, it's not anyone's toilet can run, whether it's new, whether it's 2 years old, whether it's 15 years old. Everyone is plagued by it.
Okay. The equal opportunity waste of
Yes.
water. Good. You mentioned something, and I speaking of geeking out, I'm just, when you said the handheld item, I forget we were reading which type of meter, but you said the handheld will beep. Is it saying, hey, what I just read is not normal for this address?
Yes. Yeah, it's saying it knows the past usage. Honestly, Travis has been here almost 4 years, and I've been 5. We know when it's, we'll leave a card even if it doesn't beep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anyhow, 7,000 gallons is sort of my threshold. It's high, and then you think about who lives there, and you're like, oh, okay, it's fine,
Right.
So.
Right.
So,
Go ahead. I'm good.
I'm sorry, yeah. So related to our ability to track water usage, that's at what % for the village now?
53 out of 1,700?
Okay. Oh, not 53%?
No.
53, okay. And you mentioned the Vale. So my understanding is water-wise, we just kind of have a hook up into the Vale. But when you were talking about TUNet or TUNet or whatever, those are the electric.
Yeah, so I mean,
Meters that we have?
those electric meters pick up, thankfully, and there's enough of the TUNet meters. I mean, it's really that. I went to a Tantalus training 3 months ago. I got my certificate.
I saw that, yeah. Congrats.
It's sort of magic how so I have no idea. It's very hard to know why one meter doesn't pick up and another does. The TUNet meters have a really long range, and then the ERT meters have a shorter range, the ERT electric meters, and they're sort of picked up, and just those reads are picked up and distributed. And then an ERT in the ground is even harder to pick up. So you really want a TUNet meter as close to a water meter as possible, but sometimes it'll be crazy you'll have, a meter here and a meter there, and this meter is actually being read by a meter 2 blocks away. So, yeah.
And you said we have about 400-ish of those?
We have about 513 installed, I think, right now. And then we have 400 in the shop about to be deployed.
Starting tomorrow.
Yeah, starting tomorrow.
And how close are we to users being able to, look at this data themselves, do you think?
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Cool. Thanks.
One thing that Rose didn't mention is the TuneNet backbone that is being provided by the electric will tie into the meter grant that we got from PwC that Rose is also heading up as project manager because she's about done with the electric system now. She's going into the water. So the electric will piggyback on, or the water will piggyback onto the electric and bring the same path back in. Once all the water meters are installed, you'll be able to start, we'll have to get an app, and then they can, instead of Rose calling you, your phone's going to wake you up in the middle of the night telling you that you left the toilet running.
Shake your toilet.
I think it's good to wait until all the water meters are changed to look for an app. There's a couple different, software companies that Tantalus works with that outputs their data. That's going to be an interesting conversation. I would want to talk to the people who are using that, really in depth before we choose someone.
Nice. Thank you.
Two of the things that I wanted to mention before she got out of here. The drive-by that we installed in 16, if everybody remembers, that allowed us to start reading water every month instead of every 3 months. So we was able to catch water leaks monthly. Now by going to the AMI system, we're going to be able to catch it, or the homeowner is going to be able to catch it right away. The other thing is the Tantalus system, or calling in for a power outage, is a help to the lineman and Ben to troubleshoot as they're driving in of what section they need to start looking at for what squirrel that decided to take it out.
Yeah.
So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for the level of detail, and I really appreciate how far you and Travis go to help the residents with their issues. I think that's a nice quality for both of you.
Yeah, indeed. Mitzi?
Related? Related?
I did have a very close friend of mine who had a water issue at a spigot, and Rose came out, I called her, she came out right away and problem solved and was so helpful. I do have one question, and that is about, do we need water softeners this day and age in Yellow Springs? We still do. Your recommendation. Okay.
It used to be, the recommendation was to set them to 30, right? And now it's 15. So make sure that, your water softener is not set too high, because then it's cycling too often. But yeah.
Yep. I hear mine when I've stayed up too late. So it's running at the right time. All righty. This has been great. Thank you, Rose.
Thanks, Rose.
All right.
Thanks, Rose.
Appreciate you. Yeah, these maybe it's the geek in me, but these special reports from your team have been, I think, great. I think there's just so much to know about how things work in the village, and really getting it, from the subject matter experts really does put an extra level of excitement on it. So thank you, Rose. And tell Travis thanks as well. You represented him well. All right, manager's report.
All right. It's hard to follow Rose, but I'm going to try. Economic development, big breakthrough. We're going to get the CBE marketed. We got the agreement for Walnut Street to be leased, so knock those two off. Housing for the DDC plat. I drove through there this morning. They've already got 6 lots sold.
Okay.
So they are selling them as fast. I know that they are talking about starting to break ground probably this month on the North Wright model home. So they are in the process of working with CenterPoint to start digging in the gas line and the electric lines, and then Triac Electric is hired by DDC to install the electric. We submitted a grant for the sidewalk to ODOT for Fairfield, so we should know February if we get that grant. It was more than what I anticipated, but it was $2.4 million for that grant.
Okay.
What? So this is Fair Acres up to
From,
King?
it goes from Ridgecrest. It goes all the way up to connect to the sidewalk that is there for the safe routes to school. But they felt it was better to score if we took it to the bike path, because that allows them to get to the youth center. It checks off so many more boxes. So it would all go all the way down by Mills Work and then to the bike path right there. So that was submitted, and we'll get a review back towards the end of the month to maybe tweak it a little bit, and then it'll be finally submitted in February.
Okay.
Cool.
Brian, did you and I need to work on the capital for Dean's office? Just let me, as a reminder for me and you.
Yep.
So,
Elephant never forgets. I can do it in the morning.
okay.
So I'll take it.
Great.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, sir. Water line replacements, we should be getting a contract for next week, or next council member, or next council meeting, to be able to start on the House Bill 168. The water staff is actually looking at others that we've discovered doing the first set, getting prints to where we can start getting some more grants allowed to be able to submit for more funding for replacing us more lines. We were talking about the second tower, Brian, for the water tower, taking it down in July again, and it'll be down for 2.5 to 3 months. They will be blue, but right now, Travis, our local guy, is working on something to where we can, like, Photoshop something to where we can give some ideals, and then it would be a campaign to be able to try to get a decal or some kind of design on them. We wanted to get the basics. We have to have the basics, and that's what we wanted the blue on there for. That's the basics. That's good for 20 years. And then the decals, they're just the top of the icing. Really, it's the cake. The cake's good. So that's that. Let me go to the library, Brian, as well. It is in your packet. The Library Commission is asking to do a continuation of a pottery style memorial
Like a tree.
to the left of that bench.
So you mean like the ceramic, kind of like?
Correct, the
Okay.
ceramic style, to where they could put, people could put people's names on there that have done stuff for the library. They just needed the village council's permission to be able to continue the artwork that they started many years ago.
And this, as a member of the Library Commission, I'll suggest this. It actually started when we wanted to do some sort of memorial for Becky Eshelman. We first thought about brick pavers. You know, there is a paver area, but it hasn't been maintained in the best way possible, so we didn't want to add to that. Then there's the tree of life, or tree of books, tree of knowledge that's there. You know, so sort of those two ideas got merged into this one. So, you know, on the wall where there is that very artful bench there, looking at putting on this tree where each leaf or branch, we haven't gotten that deep into it yet, you know, but some part of the tree would be a memorial or recognition of various folks, you know, who made some major contribution to our local library. So it's sort of changed direction a little bit, but that is the spot that's indicated in the packet, in that area of the wall that we would want to lay this silhouette of a tree. Maybe just think of it that way. And then as folks' names are added to it, it'd be a branch or a leaf or something. So that's, again, just some of the history of how.
And are Beth and Katie doing this, or is it? Or
We
do
haven't
know?
gotten that far yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to support that.
Second.
Yep.
And all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay. Fairfield speed bump test is still ongoing, but we've got the before data, and after we installed the speed bump data, I've kept that sent over to Chris Bongiorno to put the numbers together to see if it's helped or hurt. I know it's helped because now they're speeding down King Street. So we're going to wind up taking that up, hopefully. It could be, depending on the snow, it could be even this week. If they're calling for 3 inches, we're going to have to remove it to be able to continue to plow down that road. So hopefully it's not going to snow. Hopefully it stays all winter. That's our plan. We'll be making brine this week as well to be able to stay on top of the pre-treatment. They did put down 800 gallons of brine, and there was no call-outs, even for the little bit of the icy conditions that we had, which that 800 gallons saved us time coming in, loading salt, and putting it down.
So we do feel it's been positive, right?
So far, it has.
Brine experiment.
Yes. Yeah, because normally what's the first ice up is the parking lot for the Bryant Center, and we got no calls for the parking lot to be salted.
Okay.
So Johnny, back to the speed bump.
Yes.
Could we, because I know there have been issues about, plowing snow, which will become less and less of an issue, but could we have like a temporary speed bump program that happen every summer? Or
So this program that we have, first off, I'll give a shout out to Fillmore Construction. They're the ones that donated the speed bump. They removed it from another community that did the same thing. And he's like, hey, if you want this, you can have it and try it and keep on moving it place to place. You would not believe the calls that people want me to move there next. But if this does work by the data and by the residents, then we would look at putting permanent speed, not bumps, humps, because it'd be a wider, more
okay, so we would do permanent, not temporary.
We would do permanent. I think we'd have to do more than one, because what's happening is they're all slowing down real fast, going over it, revving their cars up, and then taking off down the road. So we would probably do 3 on Fairfield, but they would be more of a 6 to 7 foot gradual speed hump, and then we would take that temporary and start moving into other areas to see if it's slowing them down.
So at some point, I remember Chief discussing doing kind of a "Don't Speed Here" campaign. So for a week, you're not going to get off without a warning. You're going to be cited, and we know, because data tells us, that that is the biggest deterrent for speeders. I want to kind of bring that back. I mean, hopefully during the winter months you won't have that many problems, but I kind of want to bring that back on the table and start that discussion. Because, speed bumps are cool, but if you get a ticket on King Street because you're speeding, you're going to likely not do that.
Right.
I mean, I don't want the, I know there's a lot of issues. People have concerns about traffic stops escalating, and I know that's a very real thing. And also, we had kind of discussed it, and I'd like to revisit that at some point, just get it back on everybody's radar.
Sure thing. Dayton Street multimodal path is 100% complete. The only thing left is the bump outs at Stafford and at King Street, and the little rails bump outs on Xenia and Dayton. They did come back into town today, and they hope to have those complete by the end of January. And then we're waiting on the rapid flashing beacons to come in warm weather to finish the thermal that they got to put down for the crosswalks, and it'll be done. And that project was changing it to concrete made a big difference. And again, we have zero cost in this project. It's a $1.8 million grant by the state of Ohio. Big news for Keys Alley. I know you all seen it. We have worked with staff. We've worked with Ben's got the marketing out there. We have emailed all the downtown businesses. Tomorrow morning, you'll see signs going out. We got our new flashing signs for the pull behinds to where we don't have to rent them no more. We're going to start putting messaging out there that Keys Alley is going to be closed for 2 weeks to be able to put utilities down there. Keys Alley parking lot will be closed. That way people can deliver and turn around in there and then go back out of Keys Alley. So we are really trying to market it, getting out there, getting communications. Tomorrow, Tanner is going to go business by business that is affected and make sure that if they didn't get their email, that they see it in paper and ask for any concerns, see what we can do to help them to make it as easy as possible. But Ben has got that on Channel 5. You got it about everywhere, I think. But we're going to put it out there some more. So we got a bunch of emails from the Chamber's office. So Erica spent one day and she just started mass emailing everybody that is coming in. I already talked about the brine. Over Christmas, we did have a sewer backup on Christmas Eve morning, and then Christmas Eve hit, and we had a dreaded water coming out of the ground. We can't say the word, so don't say it. But crews had to come in and fix it. And then, of course, we had a power outage at about the same time. So crews were out on Christmas Eve. So you got pictures in there. Last I'll wrap up with is we did have a Tecumseh Land Trust come out and did the inspections of Sutton Farm, 15 acres, the Yellow Springs Creek for 7 acres, and the Glass Farm, the 8 acres, and all the reports come back good. Even the report where we had tied into the storm, they said it's holding up and it's working very well, and they notated that we had reinstated the path from the Bryant Center over to the parking lot. So all good things with Tecumseh Land Trust on making sure we're doing what we're supposed to do.
All righty. Any other questions for Johnny regarding what's in the report? All righty. Thank you, Johnny. All right. There is no old business on the agenda. Don't think we had anything there. New business. Judy, if you don't mind taking this one.
Oh, yeah, no problem. You folks had been engaging in a monthly check-in with the village manager, and I just had been asked to get it sort of more fully scheduled. And so I shot you a little memo that just said, okay, here's how it'll work then. If you, every meeting that you've got, you'll be paired with whoever council president happens to be, which was unknown at that time. If it's council president that's listed, then you just do that check-in by yourself. So the first one is the January 8th check-in, that's Kevin, and then it goes right down the list for you folks. And they're all second Mondays, and I set them all for 1 p.m. You could, that's can be negotiated with Johnny if you need to negotiate it for that day, but if that works for folks, and then that can just drop off if he's gets the permanent position. Start up if you hire a new person, however you want to do it, or it can just end.
Gavin, do you want to add something?
I just wondered if it was worth just taking a second to reflect, I guess, from probably most notably Brian and Johnny, I guess. I did one of these as part of the round, but just like, how is this going from your perspective? I guess I'd start and just say I enjoyed the one conversation that we had. It's odd being like a group manager, like having multiple people manage someone. And I don't feel particularly sort of like in the know about how the relationship is going. You know, I think, Brian, I know you've tried to sort of say, oh, we had a good meeting, but it's a weird scenario where I don't know if we should do like more regular, I don't know if it has to be an executive session or what, you know, some other way to have more substance or depth in like the management engagement. But I just was interested in, from your perspective, like, is this system working? I think when we did it last year, we were sort of trying it out. So just, is this good, or is there something that could be improved about it?
I think it's working. I'll just say that I've taken points from every conversation and tried to adapt and answer the call for what is needed of me. And so far, I don't think that there's nothing that you've come to the meeting that I haven't taken in consideration moving forward.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I think what I like is that, constant piece, so if Kevin's, doing that like aspect at this point, I think what was really good and also, I had a note about the fact that someone recommended that there also be regular check-ins with our clerk and all of council members. What I noticed, because most of the time, and you saw that, Gavin, I just kind of hung out, maybe had a few things to ask, but mostly, it was a matter of each council member getting to ask some targeted questions about where they're coming from. And I think that's why it came up in Judy's evaluation as well, is projects that council members want to make sure are on the radar of staff. So something else to think about. So
How often and for how long were we meeting with Judy?
quarterly. Yep.
Are we feeling, I know we're talking about village manager, at this point, am I getting a sense that you think even if we continue check-ins, and I think it is important to not just check in during the check-in season,
Yep.
But to do something more consistently over time. You feel like maybe for Judy, the quarterly should be more frequent?
Maybe every other month.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Judy, well, we would task you then with putting together another schedule. Mm-hmm. If you don't mind, please.
But I think, Judy, from your perspective, you kind of weighed in that you thought interacting with council members also made sense. So I
Yeah,
think
and in the same kind of rotating through, because I was meeting with you and Carmen.
it was just Carmen and
So,
Yep.
getting more folks into the mix, I think, is a good thing, so.
Yep.
So we can start with bi-monthly and then see if Judy's just chomping at the bit for seeing more of our faces. we can consider.
I'll come to
going-
your house.
Yeah, we can consider going monthly. Okay. As Judy suggested, this schedule was put together before we knew how things were going to work out today in terms of executive officers. Does this look good? Okay. All right. So I get the sense there were 4 or 5 nods, so I think this is all positive, so we will plan to do that. And so it'll be me and Kevin meeting with Johnny on January 8th.
I don't know if now's the appropriate time, but I just, I mentioned, what do we think about the idea of doing like a quarterly management check executive session kind of thing where we're actually having some more substantive discussion? Because otherwise, it's the only formal place it could come up is here, and it comes up in the evaluation at the end of the year, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess, to me, it just makes sense to have some, and part of the reason I'm talking about it is because this is not meant as, I don't want it to be like a surprise. It's not meant like we have some issue, but just to acknowledge that it requires communication to manage effectively, and so just put it on as a 30-minute executive session once every quarter. How does that sit with other folks?
I like it. I think also when we get to reviews at the end of the year, we tend to not really have as much time as we probably would like.
I think that right now, I would not be in favor of that. for reasons. And one of the reasons is that, can we just tack on executive sessions of just tacking on? I mean, I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I think that the level of substantive just stuff, like you want a meaty discussion, that means different things to different people, right? And if things are operating in a way that the majority feels is okay, then is it necessary to have a 30-minute executive session? I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little more.
In general, I will submit that I'm actually surprised I'm going to say this, but I'm in favor of us spending more time together, not just here at Council Dais, but there's.
I'm not diametrically opposed to that. I was speaking specifically about adding another executive session, whether or not it's necessary, and can we play around with that a little bit more before we decide anything?
Well, I think all of it, because all of it's new, we're playing around with it, and so the first play, if you will, would be us scheduling, sometime during this first quarter, 30-minute or so executive session, and see how it goes.
Yeah. Trish?
I like the idea of more communication.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of more communication.
Yeah. So
Executive session or communication, we're talking about two different things.
well,
I mean, obviously they're under the umbrella. Can we get some? Thank you. Yes, I need some guidance from the solicitor.
So we want to make sure that we're within the confines of the Ohio Revised Code. And the language for an exec session of this matter would be to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation. So if you'd be looking to do something like this and under the guise of like a quarterly employment review, then I think it would fit within the confines
So
of
it'd
an
have to
exec
be
session.
it would have to be an employment review.
It would need to be something related to that,
Of course.
yeah, to get
Okay.
into exec session, because we've got those delineated
That makes
reasons
sense.
within the revised code.
Right.
Thanks for that clarification. I
right.
appreciate
And we've also talked about work sessions prior to council meetings, which is, again, just an opportunity for us, before we get to the meat and the structure, MEAT, the meat of the meeting and the structure that we're bound by here. We can have, a bit more fluid, if you will, and flexible discussion, at a work session. We've, I can't even remember many work sessions. We've talked about doing them on a regular basis for a while, and have been far from regular, and not even good at irregular, if you will. So I would say, again, we try it out. It's probably a good idea to maybe start with that first work session having some theme or some object or some subject matter, as opposed to just kumbaya, which is okay as well. But I would say, just like with the executive session, being a bit more formal, this work session sort of being an informal, let's just try it out, and if at the end of that, at the end of it, we'll go right into our meeting. But maybe after one or two efforts, we'll either love it or hate it.
So this sounds like an agenda planning thing, right? So that'll be a thing. I mean,
Well,
that's y'all stuff, I think.
Yeah. I'm afraid to compare anything to agenda planning.
Right.
Because we have
but
agenda
if
planning.
we're gonna do, like, if you're talking about, executive sessions and not, that's.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm fine with it.
I'm used to work sessions, though. I mean, that's something that,
Yeah.
my prior job that happened a lot, so that, like if you're reviewing a handbook, let's say, that's something that you would need several
Absolutely.
hours and probably divide it up over. That's why, so if you're saying a topic,
Yeah.
it could be, what's the plan for, putting out the village manager position, or the handbook, some of these other HR-related duties, and it could be divided up so that we're not, because the handbook, that could feasibly be a considerable amount of time, but we could break it off in a smaller chunk.
Yeah. And we do know that it will be, and so we're putting together the team for that. And so many of these things. I mean, we could become the housing committee for one work session and sort of do a deeper dive into that domain. Why don't we plan to just have a skeleton, Judy, a skeleton structure of just maybe the first one or two of these things, and if the meeting before, or a month before, or a couple weeks before, we'll say, hey, do we have a topic?
Can I ask for some clarification? These things, executive sessions or meetings or what
Work
things?
sessions. Work sessions.
So work sessions. So we're not talking about executive sessions anymore. We're talking about work sessions?
Yeah, yeah. So we might have conflated the two, but we were in agreement with trying both out, and because the big difference, is confidentiality, and so the executive sessions were all directed to the interim village manager position, or that process, which is, I think, a good idea, because we've only talked about this pie in the sky idea of what the process would be like, but we probably ought to, this is the time, or the time is approaching for us to start putting some legs on what we think that process is going to look like.
Okay. I'm gonna pull back a little bit.
Okay.
I think your questions are reasonable. We were talking about one concrete thing, which is the idea of doing a raise around, maybe we should do an executive session around management. And then I think Kevin was bringing up, we had also in the past, and I think it didn't have a lot of clarity. So
Yeah, I'm not confused about the lack of clarity.
Well, I guess I was a little bit. I was trying to figure out how we got to the what are they called? The work sessions, and then what would they entail? So I guess I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. I think that's part of the discussion around like the goals or like what's the structure.
So tell you what, let's not do any of that until after we have our retreat, strategic planning, whatever the next big thing that's already virtually scheduled. Yep, so there's a thing. I think we're calling it a retreat.
Your retreat is scheduled.
We have a retreat,
No
right?
one waved their hands around and said we can't do it. So you're set January 26th. Sorry, I got that typo in your thing. January 26th, 12 to 4.
Okay.
And we can start fleshing out
Yep.
a draft agenda, and that could be an item on it, which is
Yep. So the last 10 minutes of conversation will be picked up at our retreat. Okay? Future agenda items. And Judy, you shared a note that this has more than what maybe the packet.
I added, what you have in front of you should have, it's Resolution 24, it's not 05 anymore, but your necessary action to enact an eviction, council membership on boards and commissions, goals discussion, broadband update. I've got all that for then, and then I forwarded, and I don't have that agenda in front of me, but planning commission report, environmental commission report, those end of year reports that need to come rolling in.
Yep.
So is there any, like the village goals discussion, for example, is there like are we supposed to do, like in the past we've done kind of like homework for that, right? Like we've prepped and said, here's stuff that we think are, when do we do our homework, basically?
Well, Brian's usually done the heavy lift. He's rolled out the village goals and color-coded stuff and sent them out to everybody, and then sometimes people get in gear and fill things out, and sometimes people don't do a lot of things, and generally Brian's kind of shepherded that process along. So it depends on how you want to attack it this year, but it's not like you need to invent new village goals. I mean, you've got a pretty hefty set of goals there, and then they don't move.
Yeah.
And you continue to progress, but they don't go away. So I don't see it as being a huge change.
Right. And so to answer your question, Gavin, so Brian, I would offer that perhaps you and I can get together and let's talk about how and what to do going forward. And let's talk, I'm going to say this week like I know I can do it. But let's say this week.
Yeah,
for the sake
well,
of argument.
we've got, what, 3 weeks until the retreat, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
let me, oh, shoot. Go ahead, Brian, because I.
No, I was going to
just hadn't
say,
seen you.
let's get together on that. That sounds good.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. If I had a button-down shirt, I'd rip it open. And on my T-shirt, you'd see the big four in 2024. Housing, infrastructure, municipal broadband, economic development.
Yep.
We started talking about the big four. Well, I don't know that we called them the big four, but they are the big four. And neither of those are one-year projects. They're all multi-year projects. So I would submit that the floor or the foundation that we would begin, our goal setting, if you will, would be some of the projects and tactics that would fit under those primary 4 areas. If we want to throw in a 5th one, that's fine, but I would submit, as we do our deliberations, that is our homework, that really begins now. Think about the things that you're interested in and how they fit into that current structure of those 4, the big 4. And so we'll get, I'm not saying we'll get bumper stickers, but what I'm saying is those are legitimate goals that we could spend a couple of years on.
Yeah.
I would submit this entire meeting has been housing and infrastructure. So throw in some broadband and economic development. So I would say we start there. If there's a strong argument for adding a 5th pillar, we can consider that, but I think those big 4 are a great place to start. And I think, the ideas that we have, look for a place, please, under those 4 different umbrellas where a pet project or a particular project might fit. I mean, I can't imagine, and I don't need to imagine, I'll need to do it one way or the other, but I would submit that probably anything we come up with is probably going to come under those areas. We spent a few meetings improving the village manager report. It's got that structure dealing with those 4 areas, and obviously, we could change it at the drop of a hat, but why? So again, let's think about the things that we're interested in and where they fit into those 4 big areas, and if you come up with something that's just completely an outlier, fine, we could do a 5. I can say the big 5 in 24. It just won't sound as nice.
Yeah, I think in addition to the big 4, which I agree should be our main focus, is, and this is where I think we could look at it together, is pull out that start, stop, continue list and just kind of look at what's been done. And that may also be, if you and Johnny, I don't know when your check-in is or whatever, but
The 8th.
Is it next Monday? But that might be, and then get some feedback from Johnny on that. But I could see us spending a little bit of time looking at that list, but putting it together in a way that's a little bit more digestible.
Yep.
So.
Okay, good.
So just, am I hearing that on the 16th, we would have more of this discussion about what the goals might be, like which things might fall under those categories? And
On the
26th.
16th?
Well, the
just
16th,
on
I've
there.
got
The
village
16th
goals.
is-
So usually you get them. That's you get the ones that were from last year, the color-coded, you get to sort of look at, okay, where
Right,
are
so we
we?
could
What
have
did we
something
get
in the
done?
packet
Yeah.
to prep for.
Yeah.
So Brian and I, the 16th is a deadline for us.
So then there's a quick discussion, and then you get more into it at the retreat.
Okay, because just since you guys are going to meet, I'll just say that the 2 things that are on my mind are, the one are sort of, and I like you brought up the start, stop, continue, like all the things that don't feel like they're under these things that still end up taking up a lot of time. And then the other thing is, so that's kind of like more micro, and then the other thing that's on my mind is more like macro, which is like, what do we do about the changing demographics in the village? And it feels like we're addressing these particular pieces that I worry aren't addressing the broader dynamics, and so would like to think about having either a goal or overarching goals or something. So I don't have that all flushed out, but it's something I'd like to try to figure out how to bring up.
Yep, yep. Cool. And I sent a memo to a couple of folks, and I include you, Gavin, to talk about some of the things we've, like graduated income tax and those kind of things. So I don't want to bring up a lot of that now, but I think the retreat would be a good time to talk about those and look at where they fit. I submit that it's just a matter of finding where it fits, not whether it fits, because I don't think those types of things are way out of bounds or outliers. There's some elements of housing, some elements of economic development. So again, don't want to stymie anybody's creativity, but yeah, let's just start with those as our primary structure, and those other things, again, those are certainly valid that we want to be able to consider. So yes, looking forward to doing a deeper dive on all of this. Okay.
So with the retreat coming up, could we do have an agenda item of by the next meeting, if
Yeah,
you have
draft
things that you
agenda.
want? So we'll have a draft agenda,
Yeah.
and then we can discuss that at the meeting? Okay, cool.
Yep. I already got it on there. In my mind, it's on there. And we are meeting Friday to do agenda planning, so
Sounds good. All righty, not to beleaguer any point, unless someone's heart and mind are not clear, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second. So moved.
first and second.
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Sorry about that.
Great. Thanks for letting me finish the request, though.